Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
And welcome. It's March 3rd, 2021. Things are looking up. The sky is blue. The sun is out. The thermometer is going up. And I think Ryan Deto's on the line. Ryan?
I am. Hello.
Hello. Good for you. I always think of you as fashionably late, but you're on time.
Yeah, usually am.
Well, good. Thank you. So you've been a busy guy, and I've been thinking that I have not been spending enough of our time on the show talking about local issues. So
Okay.
in comes Ryan to give us some sense of some of what's going on. It's hard for me to believe. So there's an election coming up in a few months.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, I think you can already apply for mail-in ballots if you want.
I actually already have. So that's coming up, and that's the primary in May, right?
Right. Right.
In that primary, the mayor will be on the ballot. Am I correct?
Yes, and because this is a odd number year in Pennsylvania, and we live in a democratically dominated city and county, really, the primary is probably the more important of the elections than the general this year. So that's something that Pennsylvanians need to grapple with, I guess, is that odd number years, the primary tends to decide more of the elections than the general does, even though the general does decide like judges and stuff like that. But for mayor, for city council, for a lot of elections, it pretty much is the primary. That's the important one.
That's because it's who wins the Democratic primary is going to be the winner. It took me just one election cycle after moving here to figure that out, because I was registered to vote, but registered as an independent. And wow, I thought, wait a minute. I never.
Yeah, you probably didn't have a say.
No, I never felt so disenfranchised in my life. I thought, well, this is odd. I mean, it happens in the primary. So, all right. So on that Democratic mayoral race, I think it's very interesting. You've got Bill Peduto running for his third
term. Yep.
Okay, third term, and he has challengers on the Democratic side, and what always happens though here in these primaries, and I remember watching it play out when then Mayor Masloff absolutely freaked everybody out by winning that particular mayoral primary when no one thought she had a chance. But it was because she had too many challengers. They all split the votes up, and she won.
Right.
My first question is, what are the challengers thinking when they jump into the race? The first challenger was Ed Gainey, right?
No, I think he might have been actually one of the last, actually. But
how many are there? Then I don't even know how many there are.
So I believe that there are 4, maybe 5 technically challengers. Yeah, regardless of whether how many of those actually appear on the ballot. They still have to get all their petitions in. That's kind of step one, right? Is like making sure you get the signatures and they're legitimate, and then you can actually get on the ballot. What I've heard is that there are probably 4 could be 5 that I think appear on the ballot. The first one to run was actually my man, Tony Moreno.
Is he the first? Really?
Yeah, he actually declared in 2019, oddly enough. And he's an ex-cop, ex-Pittsburgh police officer. who lives in Brighton Heights, and he has been extremely critical of the mayor, probably from more of a conservative angle than a left angle. And he declared in 2019, basically announced, I'm going to run. And after that, there were a few other challengers that are a lot less known. I believe one of them is named Will Parker, and then I think another one's named Michael Thompson or Thomas. Either way, they're probably like, to be perfectly fair, I think the real challengers of this race, and then of course when Ed Gainey announced, who's a state rep in the East End, and he lives in Lincoln Leamington, and he's been a long time progressive, long time voice at a lot of left events, rallies, protests, the Black Lives Matter movement. He's Black himself, and when he put his name in the race, it was kind of like, oh, we have a real race now. But in all of that thing, I think a lot of us in the media and probably in the whole world, in the whole Pittsburgh political world, kind of shrugged off Tony Moreno too. But apparently, he seems to be having a decent amount of support among some Democrats. I would argue conservative Democrats. So I think it's kind of a three-way race right now. I don't really think Tony has a shot to win, but he makes the race more interesting.
You know what he can do? He can scuttle Gainey's shot again.
Right, but this is what's interesting is that I'm not sure what exactly is going to happen in terms of who's going to take who from what, because you're right to reference the Maslow race, because you had a lot of candidates and you had a lot more candidates who were probably seen as more legitimate. And so you split the vote, Maslow prevails, right? Kind of a similar thing happened when Natalia Rudiak ran for city council. And that was a three-way race in a probably the most conservative district in the city. And then she, a progressive, was able to actually win because the conservatives split the vote. And then she was able to win with a plurality. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I want to talk about this Tony. It's Tony Moreno is how it's pronounced, not Marino?
Yeah.
Moreno.
I'm not sure, actually.
Oh, okay. Well, Tony, the ex-cop, has never run for political office, right?
No. He served in the police force for a pretty long time, I think, as a detective, and he grew up in California like me, and came over here, I think, with his wife or something like that, and lived here for a while, and then he just kind of out of nowhere kind of decided, like I said, very, very early, that he was going to run for mayor.
So here's what I want to know. My understanding from your reporting is that this Tony Moreno is is out there on social media or something. And I read some of what City Paper printed that had come directly from his social media. And good God in heaven. I mean, I wrote down just one line. He was rhapsodizing. This is a Democrat running for the mayor of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. He was rhapsodizing about one Donald Trump. And he said, quote, "He speaks for me."
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one I would pick too.
Well, I gotta tell you, what the fill in the rest? Are you kidding me? How is this a Democrat? And how did I then see a picture, also in City Paper, of this Trump-loving guy with the head of the Allegheny County Democratic Committee?
The city one. So he's the head of the city.
Democratic Committee, right?
Committee within the larger Allegheny County Committee.
All right, he's a mere city head of the Democratic Committee.
Right, which is really all that matters because he's only running for mayor.
Yeah, for mayor, right? one Kevin Quigley.
Yeah.
And it's a picture of Kevin Quigley and the Trump-loving Tony Moreno, cheek to jowl, both wearing Tony Moreno for mayor hats, like MAGA hats. They might have even been red. I don't know.
Masks, not masks. They're wearing masks.
Oh, masks. Oh, you're right.
Yes.
They were masks.
Yes.
Okay, you're right. Masks.
Good for them.
What is, I mean, I'm imagining me, 40-some years ago, 45 years ago, coming to Pittsburgh, and as a reporter sort of following this, and then begging somebody like Ryan Deto, will you explain this to me? What the hell?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so
what the hell?
Tony Moreno, yeah. I mean, this is small time politics in Pittsburgh. This is once you get out of like any kind of federal office or any kind of really large office, this kind of stuff happens sometimes. It's Pittsburgh's a weird area. There's a lot of Trump support here, even among Democrats. I mean, in this committee, there are Trump supporters, and I've written about that before.
Okay, now that's right there. Stop. Okay.
Yeah.
There are Trump supporters sitting on the city and probably county, certainly,
and county,
Democratic committees. Now, I ask you, how is that allowed? Secondarily, who I mean, gee whiz, I have said since I moved here, I was stunned by what Democrats were here. I said, that's not a Democrat, that's a Republican. So let's be clear. When we say Pittsburgh's so heavily Democrat, it is Democrats who for some reason are too stupid to know they are dyed-in-the-wool Republicans.
Right. It's kind of a legacy thing. I think especially when you get to the counties outside of Allegheny, there's still a lot of Democrats. But it's a legacy Democrat. It's a union labor.
Right. It's a blue collar. Democrat.
It's basically it's like the legacy of the New Deal, basically, because like the New Deal did so much help and work for Western Pennsylvania, including creating towns. Basically, I think there are a few towns in Westmoreland County that were just created because of the New Deal. And that was obviously a Democratic initiative started by FDR, and it gave Democrats power for decades, and that
why
was
a lot of black
strong.
people. Wait a minute, there's just another thing. It's why a lot of black people, Ryan, continue voting for Republicans, merely because Abraham Lincoln was a Republican.
Right.
I'm not kidding. For a long time, the Republicans had the black vote because of that.
Right.
Well,
and also, also the New Deal was like really exclusionary, so it's mostly for white people, but that too.
Exactly.
But so we have that legacy, and so the Allegheny County Democratic Committee is kind of like a little microcosm of that legacy. So whereas the Democratic Party at large in Pittsburgh and in Allegheny County is more of what you would expect the Democratic Party to be nationally. They support LGBTQ rights. They support immigration reform. They support $15 an hour minimum wage. All of it, But
and they obviously do not support.
And they don't support Trump. They hate Trump.
Fucking Trump. Good
right.
God. Okay.
But the committee itself is also kind of a legacy thing. It has a lot of older members. It has a lot of members that it just became, because it was so powerful for so long, it became like a social club kind of. And at least this is what people inside the committee tell me.
Ryan, why don't young, progressive, or just real Democrats get on that goddamn committee?
Right. So they are, but you have to remember is that Yeah, they are. Like, Bethany Hallam's on the committee, and she's been trying to,
How do you get on? What do you?
Stir shit. You have to be appointed or elected, actually, and you can only be elected every 2 years. So, or every 4 years, maybe, actually. And so that's another issue, is that it's kind of hard to convince people to get on because they have to run and they have to get on. And so in 2022 will be the next opportunity for people to get onto the Allegheny County, Democratic Committee. But you have to run. Now, there are a lot of vacancies. So in some areas, it'll be really easy. You just basically just get the few petitions you need and then get your name on the ballot, and then you're going to be the only person on the ballot probably, so you're going to get on the committee. But in other areas, it's a little harder and more competitive because the committee has members, and you have to try to outbeat those members.
How many members there are on this damn committee?
I believe there are at least thousands, I think. They're supposed to be thousands. Yeah.
Okay.
I think there's probably maybe hundreds because there's so many vacancies, but there's a potential to be a lot more because every every ward has members basically, and so there's a lot of wards in the county.
I want you. I'm sorry, Ryan. I keep interrupting you because this is making me insane. May I just ask you a question? We're going to jump into a little different thing. I have heard, correct me if I'm wrong, that the incumbent mayor of Pittsburgh, the internationally well-regarded Bill Peduto, is not seeking the endorsement of this incredible committee.
Right.
But rumor has it that he is pushing for the committee to endorse Trump-loving Tony Moreno.
Right. So
is that correct?
So this is Oh, I'm saying. So I've heard those rumors as well. I haven't confirmed them. I believe Chris Potter put those out there on the internet as well. Those rumors that he hasn't also been able to first person confirm. But I've heard those rumors as well. So it's not totally out of the blue. But what's interesting about that is because the committee has kind of really fallen out of favor because of the Trump support within the committee, because of the disaster that happened with Heather Cass, a state rep that was also openly supporting Trump at one point, that actually won the endorsement. That she actually won the endorsement. She did not win the election, but she won the endorsement from the committee. And so it's been especially this year, it's been really invoked for a lot of Democrats to say, I'm not even seeking the committee. One, it costs a lot of money. It can cost for countywide rates, cost $8,000 just to submit to try to get the endorsment. They have to pay the committee $8,000 to the committee directly.
Shakedown. I am so sorry. This is making my head explode.
It's really.
What is this thing exist to do? That they shake down people who want.
Because they're supposed to be working to elect Democrats, right? And you get your name on a slate card, which can be important in certain races, not all races. Obviously, plenty of Democrats have won without getting the endorsement before in the primary. But you get your name on a slate card that they send out to all the Democrats, all the registered Democrats in the area. You're supposed to also get basically the power of the committee. If you have hundreds of members that are going to be on the streets saying, hey, vote for so-and-so because they're our endorsed candidate. Now, a lot of people are saying, they're not really doing that anymore. They're kind of just like this weird social club that shakes you down for $8,000.
And then goes and votes for Donald Trump.
Probably.
You know what?
Probably.
I'm sorry. All I have is
it's wild. It's wild. And so back to Peduto's thing. Now, my personal thing is that Peduto, if the rumors are true, it's kind of a double whammy for him because he would not only then. So Gainey and Moreno are both seeking the endorsement. Now, Gainey is definitely the more legitimate candidate and the stronger candidate, has union support and has all these other things. And Moreno is more of a grassroots, right? Yeah, right. And Moreno's more of a grassroots conservative Democrat, extremely conservative, obviously.
He's a Trojan horse Trump lover. I mean,
right.
Don't even call him a. All you have to do to say you're Democrat is, check a little thing off on a form. Yeah, I mean, that's no Democrat.
Anyway, so for Peduto, if he was doing that, that would be like a double, like I said, like a double whammy. Like he could potentially take the endorsement away from Gainey, who that could be valuable to him, right? Because Peduto has been getting a lot of endorsements from unions, from city council, from state reps, from state senators. Like, he's been racking them up in his quest for a third term. Peduto has.
Oh, okay.
He's got the steel workers. He's got the teachers
I saw today.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, just a lot. And so
Gainey has the SEIU, right?
Yeah, well, he has SEIU healthcare, so it's split. But he's got the healthcare. He's got healthcare workers. He's got kind of more of like a little bit of a grassroots, lefty, progressive kind of thing. And he's obviously working hard to bring out the Black community for him, which could be big. It's like 25% of the city. So, but in all of that, so if Gainey doesn't get the Democratic endorsement, it goes to Moreno, right? One, that takes away it from Gainey. Two, that really just perpetuates this idea that the committee is useless and
it's a joke.
Totally
out of touch. Absolute joke, right?
Right.
And should be blown up.
And Peduto started calling for reform when Cass got the endorsement, and I think he's been at odds. He's also sought the endorsement before. But, he's kind of playing this at odds with it. So it just becomes this whole thing. So like city politics over this endorsement has become extremely volatile and extremely fun kind of to watch.
Well, let's make clear to the audience that there are really only two legitimate candidates we're talking about.
I would say the race is probably Gainey, down to Gainey and Peduto, and I'm not sure exactly where Moreno would pull votes from. That's the really interesting thing, is that he lives in the north side, but in Brighton Heights, but I don't know if the geography is really going to matter. I don't know if he would pull the more Blue Lives Matter vote, I would say, from that, like the South Hills area. I don't know. It's like I would think that would probably help Peduto, but I'm also not sure because I don't know where exactly.
Ryan, you're assuming. You're assuming that all the voters who go in there, like, think through this, like have a. Do you know what I mean?
How naive of me.
You're assuming any of this crap ends up mattering, and I don't know why people vote the way they do, but most people who vote, especially in city and state races, vote blindly.
Yeah,
I think
that's true.
I know, and I know that because I do much of the time. And I'm actually somebody who's paying more attention probably than 90% of the other voters.
Right, and I think that is the case a lot of the times. That's what's been nice about getting a little bit more exposure for the mayor's race, is that at least it gets it in their conscience a little bit more. But also at the same time, in these off-year Democratic primaries, the people who vote, we usually get about 17 and 19% registered voters turnout. In these kind of races, those are the most dedicated voters that like really come out and do those.
No, but they're also old people. They're old people.
They are. That's true. So that's what
dedicated.
I don't think Moreno's going to get many votes, but who knows? I don't know. So many things. It's like it's hard to predict. It's extremely hard to predict, and I don't want to predict anything.
Okay, no, I wouldn't either. I want to point out, though, that a lot of people who, like I talk to, assume that Bill Peduto is the most loved, mayor ever, and the progressives must love him because he's so progressive for a mayor. And I tell them that's not true. The reality is, it's progressives who don't like him, and in fact, for that matter, conservatives don't like him. So who likes him?
Liberals.
Well, you don't think a liberal is a progressive? See, I call myself a liberal. I do not call myself a progressive. I never have. I'm a liberal.
Well, then you must like Peduto. No, I don't know.
I like Bill. I don't agree with a ton of things that he does. My bet is I'll be voting for Danny if I have a shot.
I think it's kind of hard. I guess if you did on the spectrum of on the whole spectrum, if you're like the most far left, let's say like the Bernie Sanders left, or like the AOC Bernie Sanders wing, those voters, those supporters in the city probably don't like Bill Peduto that much. But how many of those are there? I don't know exactly.
The young people do not like him. Young people see him as establishment, and the whole Black Lives Matter young cohort who got energized and politicized in many ways do not like him, and I can see why they don't like him, frankly.
That's what's going to be really interesting about this election, is it's really going to show now. So there was kind of a decent amount of support that didn't like Peduto when he last ran in 2017, and it didn't really matter at all, because Peduto got 69% of the vote in a three-way race. It was he landslide, and so it'll be interesting to see how much of that left anti-Peduto establishment grew or is.
Or if they show up.
It's really loud online. It's extremely loud. It's extremely loud online. And they're constantly yelling about how they don't like him and all those other things. And maybe that has been a real grown grass movement against him, but it's really hard to say. I don't actually know. I don't think anyone actually knows. I think we all assume that it's like this massive force, but it's also just because it's really, they reply to every single one of his tweets, and so that'll be really interesting to see. But Peduto, there's a lot of forces against him. There's that force. There's the fact that there haven't been many three-term mayors in Pittsburgh history. I think Tom Murphy was the last one, and he barely squeaked by when he won last, And so I think there is a little bit of mayoral administration exhaustion among the voters, and there's we want someone new. We just want a new face, So there's going to be that. Then there's also the fact that, Gainey is African-American, and we've never had a person of color as mayor in the city of Pittsburgh. And so his win could be historic. And whether or not he can get that vote, that idea like that out, that could be a force. But at the same time, the mayor has never really had a real scandal, and that's something that we really think about. His handling with the police definitely drew tons of criticism, but I wouldn't describe it as a scandal. It's not a corruption scandal. It's not something that's going to be to that level where you're going to do those things. And there's still a decent amount of people in the city of Pittsburgh even that are very pro-police. We are in a very pro-police area.
I'll tell you who else is going to vote against Peduto, who hates his guts. And it's a big, big segment. The anti-bike lane crowd.
No, it's shrinking, Lynn. Let me have this, okay? I feel like it's almost gone. It's almost there.
Full.
We're getting close.
The people
it's changed
in
over my
who
years.
are finding it harder and harder to live in this city, who can't find a place to park, whose streets are getting narrower and narrower. They can't even turn
not
a
true.
corner.
It's not true. I will say that I as a cyclist myself, I've always been extremely scared of that. Now I would say Darlene Harris got 13 to 14% of the vote, so it's pretty high. That's because her whole campaign was anti-bike lanes, which is a joke. But Yeah, and so there's that, but I feel like it's been shrinking a little bit. I've been covering it since I got here and 5 years ago, and I feel like it's shrinking, but I think you're right that people who are really upset about bike lanes are gonna vote against Peduto. I'm hoping that there aren't that many of them.
Well, you'd be surprised, I think. Hey, I want to ask something else. On this ballot, will there be ballot initiatives state level or not? Is that
I believe there's a state level ballot to take away emergency powers that the governor has.
That is correct.
That on the ballot.
That's from the Republicans, and that needs
to
be
and, I think I read a story recently that one, Governor Wolf worded it in a way that pissed Republicans off and all these things. It's to be perfectly honest, a really short-sighted ballot initiative that there's a good chance that a Republican governor can win statewide in this state. It's been done many times. And so that would then also hamper any Republicans that would want to use the emergency powers that are given to the executive of the state. So
it's
that's
a
pretty
power
short.
grab by the already power mad and totally incompetent state legislature, and
which isn't guaranteed to stay in Republicans' hands forever either. That's another thing. So it's you could have a situation that flip-flops where you have a Republican governor win, and then you have a Democratic-controlled legislature, and they would have the power to say, no, you can't do that. So it's just there's already a lot of checks and balances that the state has in terms of its legislative power.
I'm sorry, there's so many things that I haven't talked about on the show that I just want to pick your brain about. But I signed some petitions for a ban on no-knock warrants. That's not the kind of thing that's going to end up. Is that going to be on this?
Wide, and then there's also a
solitary confinement thing.
Limit, basically that an initiative that would limit the use of solitary confinement in Allegheny County.
Well, my understanding is
that's countywide.
They've got the names. I mean, they've got they've got enough names, so that'll be on probably. I think. Well, that's good.
Yes. Hey, Lynn, I got another call.
I could tell something happened. Okay.
Sorry. I do.
All right. Goodbye. You're a busy guy. Go.
Thanks, Lynn. Bye.
Okay. Bye. That's Ryan. We didn't get to a lot of stuff I wanted to. I wanted to get to the Fetterman lieutenant governor candidacy. I want to get to legalizing pot, which is Fetterman's thing, and every state in the union is going to do it before Pennsylvania. I wanted to get to the editorial in today's Post-Gazette. Whoa. Just ripping UPMC. I loved it. I mean, for me to love an editorial from the Post-Gazette is a rather unusual event, to say the least. And I don't have it here in front of me. I could have written it myself. And I have, in fact, talked in the same manner on the show. And it has to do with UPMC's outrageous behavior during this pandemic. And what I mean by that is its hoarding of vaccine for every single person in its establishment, which is huge, as we know. For people who work for UPMC who will never encounter the public, and there's tons of them, who are not frontline healthcare workers. We're talking thousands and thousands. And UPMC took all of that vaccine. They're still bogarting it. They're still not letting people at it. You know what they're doing now? They've given full doses to all of their board members. Let me tell you, a board member doesn't go near a bedpan. A board member doesn't even have to go anywhere near UPMC. They've given it to workers who have nothing to do with actual contact that puts them at risk. And it is an outrage. Part of the reason so many people in this area have struggled to get a vaccination is because the biggest healthcare provider in this area is not doing an ethical job of dispensing it. And that's what the editorial says. It also contrasts UPMC with the Allegheny Health Network, its only real competition. Allegheny Health Network, where I got my stuff. And you know why Allegheny Health Network was able to vaccinate me and a lot of people I know? Because they did not give the vaccine to workers who work for them, but are not frontline. Didn't do it. So while UPM, of every person who gets a paycheck from them, and they think they got as high as 90% because some said, I don't want it. Allegheny Health Network vaccinated only 60% of their employees, all of whom were deemed to be at a level of risk and consequently a proper arm for a 1A dose. Allegheny Health Network handled this as a good, community-oriented healthcare institution would. So all of that other stuff that if it was UPMC at the helm would have gone into the arms of 30-somethings, 20-somethings who happened to get a paycheck from UPMC, AHN, Allegheny Health Network, Allegheny General, West Penn are putting it in the arms of people most at risk. I have called the evil empire for decades, and they just keep on proving it. Disgusting. And so disgusting that even the right-wing Post-Gazette editorial board needed to rant about it. For that matter, there was a letter to the editor a few days ago from a woman who said that she was a UPMC nurse and also had their health care. I mean, total UPMC all down the line. Has always thought so highly of them and was writing to say how stunned and disgusted she was by their handling of the pandemic and the vaccinations. I've got a caller. Go ahead, please.
Hi, Lynn. I was calling to agree with you. I've been outraged by UPMC giving those shots to everyone that worked for them. It's just been in the last 2 weeks that they pulled it from their employees and said that, from what I heard, that they can no longer get it. But, you know, I've been speaking about this, and I've called KDKA numerous times, and they will not even let me get on the air because Marty Griffin is a UPMC so into them. So he won't even put me on to even discuss why they were allowed to do that when there was a shortage. And their employees who are 20, 30 years old have been vaccinated. And I think that is totally unfair. And I'm so glad that someone wrote and is speaking up about it. It's just outrageous what they've done and how they are allowed to get away with that. it makes no sense at all.
No, it's disgusting, and they need to be called out. Good for you for trying to. For Griffin not to let you on the air is an outrage because you have a point of view he doesn't like. Good God. No, it's not like my recent surgery was at a UPMC hospital. Okay, it was not by a UPMC doctor, because I do tend to try to give all of my business to Allegheny General. That's where my general, because that is an organization, a hospital organization that still has a sense of what its mission is. UPMC has lost total touch, the administration of it, total touch with what their job is. They're just this big behemoth amassing more and more and more wealth. Did you see what they made this last year during the pandemic? They doubled the amount of money coming in. Over $1 billion UPMC made during the pandemic. And then turns its back on us, the people who they purport to care about. It is outrageous. Have you gotten your vaccine?
I did. I got the first one, and now I'm waiting on the second one. And I just heard last night I might not be able to get the second one because of the shortage. So I'm kind of up in the air right now what they're going to do. I think they're going. Well, from what I've been told, my mother-in-law was due to get hers last week. I was scheduled to get mine this week. They called her and told her they were going to go the 42-day route because they did not have it.
Yeah.
So
this is that screw up with the dosing and this, but it sounds like generally speaking these things it's starting to rectify itself, the supply chain. So did you get yours through the health department?
I did. I did. I actually got mine the week when they did that big one over at Shop and Save in the Hill District.
Oh, okay.
They were really good in it. It went just smoothly, perfect. Everything was fine. So I'm not sure what's going to happen.
I wouldn't worry about it because I think that they are doing a really good job. They will ensure that you get your second dose in the window. Maybe it'll be a little, broader window than you had hoped, but you'll get that second dose.
Yeah, I hope
I'm
so.
sure.
And I hope something could be done about UPMC. I've just been, and usually I'll write an article for the paper, and I did not do it, and I'm so glad someone did. Right, and put it in there.
Yeah.
But thanks so much for talking about that because I've tried numerous times to get on KDKA, and he's so into the doctors there because he had cancer and they helped him, and so he's not going to let you say one thing against UPMC. And I'm like, my husband had cancer. He had one of the best doctors there, and I'm still going to speak out when they do something that is not
exactly right. We're not talking about the doctors. We're talking about the administration.
Exactly.
And he should understand the difference. My understanding is half the doctors there and much of their staff hate the administration maybe even more than I do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And okay. Have a good day. Thanks again.
Hey, you too. Bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Appreciate the call. Bye-bye. Geez. I was going to say, and speaking of maddening things, how about those great states of Texas and Mississippi? Huh? That's right. We're just heading toward the finish line, and they are going to try to trip it up. You don't have to wear a mask. You can pack every bar in the state. Can you imagine? And there are. All those people. So there will be a spike. There will be another spike just when we thought we were starting to get a handle on this. The only hope is that the Biden administration, with its really impressive increased vaccination availability, and will somehow manage to head off what these idiot Republicans are just determined to do, which is kill as many people as they can. Don't get me started. Don't get me started. You just wonder how people can be so wrong at every turn. Just every turn. All right, you can do this, and here's the reason you would do this. All the experts in the field say, do this. And then there's this other road. There are no experts in the field who say, go there. They say, ooh, be careful, because you could kill a lot of people going that way. And of course, that's where Governor Abbott of Texas and the governor of Mississippi say, hey, follow me. Unbelievable. Got another caller. Hello.
Lynn?
Yeah.
Hi, Lynn. Hello.
Hello.
I'm not sure if Upper St. Clair Hospital is a member of UPMC, but I was listening to.
I don't think it is. Is it?
Well, here's something. I was listening to your colleague Chris Moore over the weekend, and a guy called in, and he went there with his wife, both, eligible, and they told him, your insurance is out of network. We can't accept it, so you can't get the shot.
Wait
now,
a minute.
I thought
Insurance shouldn't have a damn thing to do with getting these shots.
Aren't they free?
Yes, they're free.
You paid for that research, billions of dollars.
It's free. It's free. Has nothing to do with your insurance. I was never asked to show an insurance card. God.
Yeah, that's what Chris was saying. How could these people say that? And they wouldn't give it to them. They turned them away. Get out of here.
Wow. Oh, dear.
That's why I wondered if they were UPMC, because that sounds like what they would do.
Yeah, it sounds like UPMC. I don't think they are, but it's an interesting question. Oh,
well, somebody out there knows.
Okay. Hey, thanks for that, I guess. Depressing.
See ya.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Oh, God, guys. What do I got here? Excuse me. Oh, yeah, the Dr. Seuss thing. Will you allow me a little bit? I mean, I said that. So Dr. Seuss, 6 of his books by the decision of whoever controls Dr. Seuss. That's not even. It's beyond the publisher. It's maybe the family or something. Have said that they will stop any more reprinting of these earlier titles. One is the Mulberry Street one, which I think was his first book that we would recognize. Another was a book that I have always loved that nobody else knows, called McElligot's Pool. And I said that after I was going to check it out. Do I have another caller? I'll get him in here before I go. Caller, hello? Oh, I'm sorry, Amy. That's the difference between when it pops up on my. Forgive me. And thank you, Margaret. St. Clair is an independent hospital. Okay. McElligot's Pool. And I said I was going to go. I couldn't understand for the life of me why that would be one of them that would be considered like, well, we have to stop publication of this. I loved it. And So I went and got it off my bookshelf. I have tons of Dr. Seuss books, and I treasure them. And this one is, let's see, the copyright is 1947. Okay, geez, it's older than I am. And I reread it. After I found it, I reread it. And I reread it specifically looking for what would be politically incorrect now, so much so that it would not be published anymore. So, I mean, this book I have, because there's not going to be any new ones coming out, is more valuable, I guess. And I swear, I'm not sure. I think I know. I think there are two things that I found, and it's always, it's the illustration. But when I finally found one that I thought might be the reason, I really had to ask myself, really? Would this be the reason? I can't. And then there was one that I think was a little more so, but let me explain to you what it is. It's about a small boy who's fishing at this little pool on Mr. McGilligan's farm, and another farmer comes up and says, hey, you're never going to find a fish in there. I'll quote Dr. Seuss here. The pool is too small and you might as well know it. When people have junk, here's the place that they throw it. You might catch a boot, or you might catch a can, you might catch a bottle. But listen, young man, if you sat for 50 years with your worms and your wishes, you'd grow a long beard long before you'd catch fishes. And then the little boy says, yeah, thinks he's got a point probably. But then his hopefulness refuses to say there's no chance he'll ever catch a fish in this little teeny little pool. And the little boy says, there might be no fish, but again, well, there might, because you never can tell what goes on down below. This pool might be bigger than you or I know. And here's the part that just transfixed me as a child. This might be a pool like I've read of in books, connected to one of those underground brooks and an underground river that starts here and flows right under the pasture, and then, well, who knows? And then he follows this, and the illustrations are wonderful. It goes under the farms and under Mrs. So-and-so doing her laundry, and under the people sitting on the porch of the hotel, and under this and under that, and then finally it goes right into the sea. And the illustration shows a fish in the ocean motioning to other fish. And a little boy says, you know, some very smart fellow might point out the way to the place where I'm fishing. And that's why I say, if I wait long enough, if I'm patient and cool, who knows what I'll catch in McGilligan's pool? And then the rest of the book unfolds. And it's the illustrations that are so, I might catch a thin fish, I might catch a stout fish, I might catch a shorter, a long, drawn out fish, any kind, any shape. And so it's one sort of delightful, crazy fish after another. And let me tell you, if you know Dr. Seuss illustrations, I mean, everybody, you know his creatures. I mean, everybody looks a little odd, even the humans, right? So I'm going through it, I'm doing fish after fish. I'm thinking, this can't be it, this can't be it, this can't be it, this can't be it. On and on I go. And then I stopped because we got to some fish from the tropics, all sunburned and hot, might decide to swim up. Well, they might they not? And there's a picture of a guy sitting on a tropical island, and he's lying down under a palm tree, and he's got a kind of sort of sombrero on and a little mustache and a fan. And that was the first time I stopped and thought, would that be considered bad? Because if it is, we've lost our friggin' mind. I decided, no, that can't be it. So I turned the page, and now we're in the north, and it says some Eskimo fish might decide to swim down. And maybe it's the Eskimo fish. Maybe is it the use of the word Eskimo? The Eskimo looks no different than anybody else, but the Eskimo fish, their eyes are a little different. Is that? And I thought, okay, that's one of them. That's one of the possibilities that got this book killed. The Eskimo fish. And I keep going. We do an Australian fish. I don't see any problems there. We do a this. And then I think I got it. Some roughneck old lobster, all gristle and muscle, might grab at my bait. Then would I have a tussle? To land one so tough might take 2 or 3 hours, but the next might be easy. Turn the page. The kind that likes flowers. So here is a picture of long eyelash. Looks like a beautiful woman fish, and is sprouting rainbow colors of fins coming out, and is smelling the wonderful flowers. And I think this is it. The kind that likes flowers. And I'm thinking what he's saying, although as a child I didn't. I just thought he's talking about a fish that likes flowers. I don't know. The kind that likes flowers, I think, meant gay. Is that what it was? Has to be gay. Who would think that it's a friggin' fish that has a little more eyelashes and color? And that's it. I'm sorry, guys. That is it. And on and on and on. We go on and on and on. And the last 2 lines, oh, the sea is so full of a number of fish. If a fellow is patient, he might get his wish. And that's why I think that I'm not such a fool when I sit here and fish in McElligot's pool. And this wonderful little book, because one fish, the line is the kind that won't fight, and he's got more sort of color. I guess he meant it to be a gay fish. Or the fish pictures of the Eskimo fish with the eyes slightly different. What the hell? I'm sorry. I am just saying, what the hell? Let me read this. Oh, I don't have time. But let me read this. I hope, Milt, you don't mind if I share that first part with you, with the audience. He wrote me such an amazing email. He says, I couldn't read at all until 3rd grade. And we should say Milt is black, okay? I couldn't read at all until 3rd grade. I'm extremely dyslexic. And despite the army of teachers, tutors, ophthalmologists, and therapists my loving and dutiful parents employed, it went undiagnosed until the summer after 2nd grade. Once the frustrating jumble of serpentine characters began to make sense in my backward brain, it was Dr. Seuss that was my primary roadmap to mastering comprehension of the written word. So for me, in those grade primary school years, Seuss was less a doctor than a magician who helped to unlock this enchanting world of words. Mulberry Street was a favorite. That's also canceled. The words and illustrations were like treasures that I cherished for years. Dr. Seuss became a mythical figure to me, representing all that was possible for my challenged mind could accomplish. Even in high school, I quietly held the man and his books in high esteem. I even read those same books from my home library to the kids at the Y camp downtown, where I was a junior counselor during the summer after my sophomore year. In 1985, the Carnegie Museum hosted a Theodore Geisel retrospective. I was so excited to see the actual cells and original prints from which Horton and Sam I Am were published that I convinced my best friend to skip class with me and take the short walk from Central Catholic to the Scaife. So you can imagine the tumult of emotion I felt when I rounded the corner into the first room in the exhibit and saw this. And this is a drawing that Geisel did in the 1930s. And it just looks flat out racist. It's like an African king with, they looks like an ape and another African. Just flat out. I mean, there's no doubt that is offensive. And he says, ouch. But that was my first lesson in separating the art that one may love from the artist who created it. The retrospective was full of such imagery. But more quickly than I would have thought possible, my shock and dismay gave way to an appreciation of the art some artists must create commercially. So enchantment gave way to fascination. He was working for an oil company when he did that. He did it for an oil company. I still love the guy and what his books did for me. But now I chuckle when I discover something new that I never suspected he'd create. And he goes on. So during World War II, he worked for the War Department doing trainee films for soldiers, and so the Germans don't look so good, and the Japanese don't look so good, but we're at war, okay? Jeez. I mean, this guy is such a wonderful man. He grew. In the 1930s and the 1940s, he was where white America was. But he did more to humanize difference for children than anyone I can think of. God, I just despair. I'll just let me get this in real fast here. Chris, and then I might have to go. I took my wife to PMC Park last Thursday for her first shot. It was very well staffed, very well organized. We were in and out within 40 minutes from the time we parked, stood in line and registered, got the shot, and waited 15 minutes after for any reaction. My sister's a nurse at West Penn and received both shots from AGN. It's a great feeling. Well, that's Allegheny Health Network. Again, it ain't UPMC. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm sticking with McElligot's pool. I see nothing, and I would think gay people would agree with me that this book is delightful. If that was the problem, it must have been. Good God. It was 1947. This is the left cancel shit. And it is a gift. It is the gift that keeps on giving. Not to us. Not to anybody but Republicans. So keep it coming, you easily triggered idiots. I'm in a mood today, aren't I? I better go. I'm starting to call people names. I'm using the F word again, which I pretty much, did you notice, sort of stopped. I've been trying to be good ever since I knew that there was a priest listening. Okay. All right, guys. Enjoy this day. It's going to be warm. I'm going to get in the convertible and drive around in a bikini. Okay? See you tomorrow. Bye.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.